Hello and good day to all Spirit members. Have you ever wondered how the raw material and finished items being import and export? What are the technicalities that involve during those process? Is there any rules and regulations that need to be fully complied before the item being shipped to the consignee? Well, in this video, we will discuss briefly about the obligations and responsibilities of trade compliance in managing the import and export. Stay tuned with us. First of all, Spirit Malaysia Trade Compliance sector will serve under the Logistics Department to smoothen the import and export process. Generally, there are 4 areas that Trade Compliance Officer deal with. They are Licensed Manufacturing Warehouse (LMW), Strategic Trade Act 2010 or STA 2010, Harmonized System Code or SHS Code, and International Commercial Terms or Incoterms 2020. Let's see the most crucial matter in the business, which is LMW. LMW or Licensed Manufacturing Warehouse is a warehouse license under the provision of Section 65 and 65A of the Custom Act 1967 in Malaysian law. The purpose of LMW is to give customs duty exemption to all raw materials and components and machinery and equipment used directly in manufacturing process of approved product from the first stage of manufacturing until the finished product is finally packed and ready for export. With this facility, LMW licensees can import duty-free raw materials, equipments, or spare parts subjected to a given limit by tariff codes. Besides manufacturing activities, LMW licensees are allowed to carry out other approved activities within its premises and subjected to a certain condition. Such activities are value-added activity, remanufacturing, repairing and servicing activity, international procurement center, and regional distribution center. LMW licensees are allowed to make local sales, which must not exceed than 20% of total manufacturing goods. This means that the license holder has to export at least 80% of their finished goods. In Spirit Malaysia, all finished goods are exported overseas. This has to be equivalent to 100% export. As part of the requirement to the Royal Malaysian Customs Department (RMCD), monthly and yearly written reports shall be physically submitted to the Customs Office. Therefore, it is vital to the proper records, manage and supervise the duty-exempted imports against the given limits. Renewal of warehouse license fees shall be submitted at least a month earlier before expiry date, and fine will be imposed for late renewal. The validity of license is 2 years for each application made. For the premises considered suitable as licensed manufacturing warehouse, it must be permanently constructed building and secured to the requirement of the Director General of Customs. It must have separate storage space for raw material, finished good, production area and packaging area in the building, as it is one of the requirements for this facility. Here is the overview of Customs 26 condition of LMW members, or known as Lampiran C for our exposure. Even though there are many obligations set by authorized bodies, the LMW have come with crucial advantages for the Spirit and the country as a whole. Throughout the year, as October 31st, Spirit Malaysia has managed to save about $2.9 million. The policies of LMW eventually will attract more investors besides enhancing the technology transfer to our country.
Trade makes the world go round and bring people closer together. But what happens when the very things intended to enrich us end up in the wrong hands? This will risk us in very serious trouble, especially when it is related to national security. Therefore, the Strategic Trade Act STA 2010 is introduced by Malaysian government in accordance with the resolution of the United Nations Security Council, which states that all member states shall take and enforce effective measures to establish domestic controls to prevent the proliferation of nuclear, chemical, or biological weapons and their means of delivery, including by establishing appropriate controls over the related material. STA 2010 is the legislation that controls the export, transshipment, transit, and brokering of strategic items and technology, including arms and related material, as well as activities that will or may facilitate the design, production, development, and delivery of mass destruction weapons. This act is consistent with the Malaysian International Obligation on National Security. Basically, there are two major classification type of item in STA 2010. They are unleased item and leased item. Unleased item is the items that may be used in restricted activity but are not prescribed as strategic items under the Strategic Trade Order 2014, and it is believed that the item will be used for a restricted activity. Leased items, or known as strategic items, refer to goods and technology that are controlled under the STA 2010. A definitive and comprehensive list of strategic items is prescribed in the Strategic Trade Order of 2010. The order reflects the item currently required to be controlled under the international export control regimes, as well as the relevant United Nations Security Council resolution. Most of the items come from military items and dual-use items which possess multiple end uses. This is a list of strategic item categories. Overall, strategic item list has 11 categories. To identify control item, a category code alphanumeric classification codes are used in the strategic item list. Surely, the classification code is different from the HS codes or community codes, which are frequently used by customs to determine import duties and collect trade statistics. The categories code has 5 characters, and the first number of category code identifies the category to which it belongs to. In Spirit Malaysia, there is an item or part that falls under the dual-use goods, which is ram air and fairing support. The same part of the civil aircraft also have been used in assembling the P-8A, a military plane in USA. Therefore, it is important for the Trade Compliance Officer to declare the item as a commercial item and need to have the permit to export the item securely. Talking about permits, category code is used to determine the relevant authority involved in issuing the export permit. There are 4 types of permit, which are single-use permit that allows to export or transship one delivery of goods or technology to one location which is suitable for the business that export on a one-off basis. Secondly is a bulk permit, a multiple export transit or transshipment permit for a single country or destination. Next is a multiple use permit that allows export or transship more regularly to multiple locations over a period of time. Lastly is the special permit, a one-time for a single country or destination which the end user is restricted one. Bear in mind that the STA regulations are distinct from custom regulation. On the other hand, the enactment and implementation of STA 2010 will give Malaysia various benefits. Compliance with this international obligation will also enable Malaysia to contribute to the maintenance of international peace and security by combating the proliferation of weapons of mass destruction. This would help to protect the company's reputation as a trustworthy and credible business entity. STA regulation also help to ensure the business operates in a transparent and secure manner. Last but not least, the company must always need to be aware of penalties to be implemented if there is any failure to comply with these regulations.
As we know, there are a variety of products which can be export and import in trading. There are different specifications for industrial products, where there are also countless varieties of products. This will make it hard to identify which type of product only by checking the product name on the list or invoice. Therefore, HS code will help us to identify the product immediately, especially for custom declaration and clearance. HS code or commodity code is administered by the HS Convention of the World Custom Organizations. HS code policy has been contracted by more than 150 countries, so it can be considered as a universal rule. The HS code has a clear rule of how we classify the products. Each classification of product will be coded by a set of number, usually 6 digits for universal code and 10 digits for more specific details according to region. As an example, globally, materials that related to manufacturing the aircraft parts are classified with a universal 6 digits number of 880330. Therefore, if we have HS code information of the number, the customs will identify what type of products are immediately. Then, after the product has been classified, the duty rate is decided. This is the common HS code for materials that related to manufacturing the aircraft parts, which specifies in Malaysia. Now, we focus on the first 6 digits. The first 6 digits are used globally in determining the product type. It is a universal code. For the first 2 digits, it is the chapter in which the products are classified. For the next 2 digits, it is the heading within the chapter. And for the next 2 digits are the subheading with even more specific details, while the remaining digits are for national level. Overall, HS code has about 97 chapters that covers all the classification of the products. Again, HS code is utilized for customs declaration for import and export for both countries that involve in trading. Rules of HS codes are essential knowledge that is required in the worldwide trading industry. Surely we don't have to memorize all the HS code that need to be applied. However, it is important to understand that overview and how and why they are used to make arrangement for import and export.
When exporting products internationally, we have to agree to sell our products based on 11 Incoterms. Incoterms is an acronym standing for International Commercial Terms. Incoterms is a trademark of the International Chamber of Commerce and it is related to international commercial law. Incoterms are accepted by governments and legal authorities around the world. In simple words, Incoterms are selling terms that buyer and seller of goods agree to deal with for the international sale and supply of goods. In Incoterms, it clearly states which tasks, costs, and risks are associated by buyer and seller and provides specific guidance to individuals participating in the import and export of global trade on a daily basis. They are the world's essential terms for the sale of goods. Whether you are filling a purchase order, packaging, and labeling a shipment for freight transport, or preparing a certificate of origin at a port, the Incoterms rules are there to assist us. This chart displays all the Incoterms in an easy-to-understand format. However, we also can refer to the full version and complete description of Incoterms published by the ICC. For the time being, we will go through 4 most used Incoterms in Spirit Malaysia daily trade. They are ex-work, free carrier, deliver at place, and deliver duty paid. Let's briefly go through each Incoterm stated. The first one is ex-work. Ex-work is a shipping arrangement which the seller makes product available at specific location, but the buyer has to pay the transport costs. Once buyers have their goods, they are responsible for another risk such as loading the goods onto trucks, transferring them to a ship or plane, and meeting customs regulation. The second one is free carrier. Free carrier. It is a trade term that dictates a seller of goods is responsible for the delivery of those goods to a destination specified by the buyer. The word free means the seller has an obligation to deliver the goods to a named place for transfer to a carrier, which typically at an airport, shipping terminal, warehouse, and many others. The third is delivery at place. Is an international trade term used to describe a deal in which the seller agrees to pay all costs and suffer any potential losses of moving goods to a specific customer. For this term, the buyer is responsible for paying import duties and any applicable taxes, including clearance and local taxes once the shipment has arrived at the specified destination.
And lastly, the fourth is delivery duty pay. Delivery duty pay is delivery agreement whereby the seller assumes all of the responsibility, risk, and costs associated with the transporting goods until the buyer receives or transfers them at the destination port. It means, after all the goods have been moved from the destination port, all the responsibilities stated are incurred by the buyer.
Then that's all for now. Hope that we could gain some enlightenment from this short briefing. For more inquiry, please reach our Trade Compliance Officer at the Logistics Office or reach us through email. Happy trading to all and thank you.